on my mama, on my hood. Welcome to UVTV, motherfucker. I'm here to kick spiritual ass and do this for my people on God Twin. Neon nigga for feather made, yeah. And today I'm gonna be talking about how morality does not matter. The intentions behind your character does. And get into the depths between virtues and vices and like principles and things of that nature, right? And the right and wrong and the productive and the counterproductive behind everything, and looking at morality from an overall perspective, as in this is just a reality, a state of being that someone wants to be in, right? And then when someone wants to be in that morality lens, right, or that immorality lens, it's just based upon different states of being that can conflict and reoppose each other for the most part, right? And I'm trying to explain from an overall perspective where you shouldn't really be in either one, because based upon these two different state of beings is going to get into real religious ethical type of talk, because that's all it is in actuality, is a whole bunch of ethical religious type of talk. And then someone trying to have a moral high ground or trying to be immoral, aka be beneath some things, when for the most part it's a no shape and form type perspective that you really should be in, aka you should really look at it as amoral, not immoral, amoral, right? That the word amoral, to where you look at it as indifferent. So you're not being immoral, but you're not being moral either. You see the distinction between the two, and then you can start to resonate with your actual state of being by not getting caught up in either one for the most part. So the reason I say morality does not matter in the intentions behind your character does, I'm gonna bring up a couple of examples, because I know people gonna be looking at this shit and they could be like, oh, how the fuck you gonna say this ain't right, this ain't wrong because of this, that, and the third, right? So look, morality, right, is just the frame of reality or the state of being of what it is to be moral. Now, when it comes to morals, right, it's going to be a distinction between right and wrong, good and bad, positive, negative, manner, or character, right? You know what I'm saying? States of beings and mannerisms and the character you're portraying and stuff like that. Now, we know that's relative. This is a relative ass conversation for the most part. So it's the same way how something can resonate and be relatable to me, but it may not be resonant and relatable to others. Something can be right for you, but wrong for someone else to do. Something could be good for you, but bad for someone else to do. Something could be positive for you, and it can get some type of monetary gain or some type of success from you doing that thing, doing that action based upon the action that you did, right? But it could be negative for someone else to do that, right? So I can flip it the other way around. So something could be wrong for you, but right for someone else to do. Something could be bad for you, but good for somebody else. Something could be negative if you did it, but positive if someone else did it. Now, we all have our own minds, right? We all have our own states of being, right? We all have our own individuality. We all know how to be ourselves for the most part. And then on a higher percentage scale from us being ourselves, we start to understand our natural state of being, right? So once you start to figure out what you're willing to sacrifice and your intention behind why you're doing something in the first place, right? You start to present or self-project a certain character. Now, it can end up being self-projecting based upon you trying to project the way you look at something onto somebody else, or it can be a form of self-projection, aka you know how to self-reflect, right? Aka you know how to be vulnerable and come in honor. You know how to come genuine. So anything you self-project, right, is only gonna bounce off if someone tried to self-project onto you what you just self-projected, because you came with genuine and stuff like that. You came with, you know what I'm saying, like in honor. You came in a shape or form of like, oh, this is just how I am. You came with vulnerability. You came with accountability. Oh, I did this, that, and the third. I know some people will look at this as wrong. I know some people will look at me as doing this, you know what I'm saying, participating with this type of energy in this surrounding environment right now as bad. So that's kind of like you being in like a courtroom system and things of that nature, right? And someone try to, you know what I'm saying, sentence you to jail based upon some law and linguistics or ethical matter, and you know what I'm saying, from them being critical and judging you based upon what they look at, based upon the law of the land that they done created of what is right and wrong, right? And they look at this as an overall wrong or an overall right, is from the most part, from an overall state of being, right? You actually doing a big ass disservice by even being in that energy, by looking at something in that type of context based upon judgment for the most part, right? So back to the original point, like I was saying, something could be right for you, but wrong for others to do. Now, based upon some type of ethical matter, right? AKA the study behind morals, AKA some type of vice or virtue for the most part, right? Someone else's vice could be your virtue. AKA it could, like, I'm gonna keep going back and forth with the same dialogue. Something could be right for you, but wrong for someone else. Something could be wrong for you, but right for somebody else for the most part. So everything is relative. And then once you know yourself, from the lightest layers and not getting too caught up in a shape and form of what you think you would be into and what you think you would like, or what you feel like you would be into and what you feel like you wouldn't do. For the most part, you start seeing from a higher percentage scale based upon some type of moral system or standard that you have for yourself, for the most part. Because like I just said, morality, aka how people look at something that is right and wrong and good and bad, is just a state of being. It's just a certain reality for the most part. Now, your reality is relative. So the way you live your life may not be how someone wants to live their life. That's why everyone have different cultures and different lifestyles and different customs and different ways of how they was brought up in this kind of nature. So from an overall perspective, right, of how someone would look at something like some damnation and things of that nature, or something that's like sin, for the most part, or something that needs to get judged against, for the most part. That's just you looking at it from a demonic lens, for the most part. Because, and the reason I say you looking at it from a demonic lens, you're looking at it from a decentered lens, for the most part. Don't get super spooked out by me using the word demon, right? Look at that as a decentered man, a decentered man and woman, a decentered masculine thought, a decentered feminine thought. So it's order. I mean, not order. It's chaos. It's all over the place. There's no order. There's no direction. There's no structure. It's all over the place. And from you being all over the place, if you see something that isn't really based upon some type of disorderly correlation of how you look at the world, for the most part, you'll go against or be a Satan or be opposing against that thing, because it's not in the context that you're used to. So it's making you feel uncomfortable because it's something that's you don't really understand for like from like an overall perspective, right? Because morals in general is it's a state of being. So it's like a spirit, it's like a thought, it's like a feeling, it's like an idea, it's like a emotion, it's like a mental condition, for the most part, right? And some people are mentally in condition or mentally fit to do something more than somebody else, for the most part, right? So it's like that saying, God only going to give you what you can handle. Someone who has more experience or has more creativity, art, and imagination for a certain talent and gift for a certain occupation or a certain job based upon their abilities of what they do and don't know how to do, for the most part. Someone could be in a mental condition, aka they're more mentally fit to do something, and compared to someone else who may not fit the job description as much as they do based upon how they do it, for the most part. So it's not what you're doing, it's how you did it. So that's what goes into this conversation of what I'm saying about it's the intention behind what you're doing, for the most part. If you had good intentions, aka you was more in the percentage scale, I'm not thinking in an ego. I'm not thinking from a narcissistic lens and stuff like that. I'm not thinking of, oh, I'm trying to do something that's self-serving, not something that's of service, aka I'm trying to help someone outside myself to make something easier for them, because I know when I experienced that and I ain't had no help and things of that nature, right? No one really try to give me the know-how or the handout of how to do it. So I had to go through the boundary restriction and limits and the trials and errors to figure out how to do this thing. So let me try to help this person and have the intention of trying to help. And then from an overall perspective, you're going to get grace, because even if you showed them how your way of doing it and it don't resonate with them, from an overall perspective, using the intentions of helping someone. So you had good intentions. You wasn't having no alternative motives. In some way, shape, or form, you was coming in genuality. Now, if someone don't take the way you did it, based upon how you did it, because it doesn't resonate with their state of being of how they like to do things, for the most part, right? That's fine, because your intentions were still, hey, I look at it like I'm trying to help you. If you look at it like I'm trying to do you a disservice of being negative, that's here nor there, for the most part. So for the most part, it starts getting into that conversation of you getting esoteric blood on your hands. Look at that as whatever you're self-projecting, right? You're going to end up doing that onto others from whatever you self-projected. If you're self-projecting something, right? And especially if you start getting physical and things of that nature, right? That's like being like a physical abuser or things of that nature, right? If you do something that's, if you start self-projecting, right, from you not knowing how to self-reflect, right? AKA, let's say you're an abuser. That means you abuse yourself. You abuse and go and be extreme about your own thoughts. You be extreme and be abusing your own emotions and feelings. Now, if you get to the point you start clenching your fists and you start beating niggas up or beating bitches up, for the most part, based upon your intentions, and you not knowing how to self-reflect, right? And you don't know how to take accountability and be vulnerable about what you did, right? And try to wash that blood off your hands, because for the most part, that's a mental condition, right? You putting yourself in that space. You putting yourself in those intentions of, I don't know how to self-reflect right. And because I don't know how to self-reflect right, I'm going to self-project how much I don't like myself because I have validation issues. And because I don't know how to communicate and go about it the right way, right? If you start self-projecting that energy onto others, right, it's going to turn into an extreme, aka you have to do the most, aka you have validation issues. You need something, you're trying to validate something outside yourself instead of trying to get to the root and the core and go through the grapevine of why you do that in the first place. So it's not about what you did, it's how you did it. The way you did it was, right, you just started abusing other motherfuckers, and you may be coming into the situation, right, from an overall perspective. The only reason you doing that, right, is because you don't know, like, you know what I'm saying? It's something that you know in your mind, but you're not verbally saying that. But let's say you was in that type of situation to where someone wanted you to explain yourself. You'll sit there and be like, well, the only reason why I was in that, the only reason I was into that intention of being an abuser and things of that nature, right, is mainly because, right, when I was a child and things of that nature, I was abused and I didn't know how to deal with my emotions and feelings in the right way. And because I'm so abusive to myself, aka they harden themselves, they self-project that to other people. But just because you don't know how to deal with your trash on the inside, it don't mean you start dumping your trash on other people's lawn and things of that nature about how you don't know how to deal with your own internal issues for the most part. Aka what you look at as right and wrong and good and bad. Just because you can't have discernment about, you know, what's right for you, and some things could be wrong for others, and you start self-projecting, oh, well, I feel like I'm doing a good thing because I'm teaching them a lesson by showing them, hey, you have to watch out for motherfuckers because motherfuckers be abusive out here, so I'm gonna be the top abuser so motherfuckers know, hey, this is how it feels to be abused. No, motherfucker, that's counterproductive. You know what I'm saying? So it start getting into that conversation of what's productive and what's counterproductive, right? Because I already know motherfuckers gonna be looking at some shit like, oh, well, based upon morality and things of that nature, right? What if it's like a motherfucker who be touching on kids and things of that nature? Okay, nigga, that's counterproductive. If you're trying to make a product and you're trying to create something for the most part, right? And you're trying to do it at your own volition, aka you're not letting other things outside of yourself try to dictate how you want to go about something. It's going based upon some type of inner will, aka willpower, aka passion, aka intention, aka you want to do it, right? You building yourself up to do it. You trying to create something for yourself. You trying to create some type of dream or imagination and make it come true in the physical in some way, shape, or form, right? And you trying to make that be that walking example of how to go about something, right? And set your intentions in the right areas for the most part, right? And let's say hypothetically you run like a daycare or something like that, right? So if you run a daycare and let's say you run a daycare and you'll babysit those kids, you know what I'm saying, in like a certain building, you have a whole bunch of stuff set up for them and stuff like that, and it's like ages like 0 to like 10 years old or 12 or something like that, and you run this organization, right? If you sit there and you start having weird ass sick ass thoughts and you start to act on these weird sick ass thoughts based upon, oh, you running some type of daycare, right, and you babysitting these kids for the most part, right, and you have this weird affinity for these children, aka you love these kids, and the same way how a parent would love their child, you look at them as their child and things of that nature, right? And you have these weird ass sexual fantasies to want to sit there because you lack some type of, I don't know, sex in your real life or something like that. Like you like sex in your real life and things of that nature, or you have some type of validation issues where you can't get no play and things of that nature, and then you want to get some type of self gratification, aka self ego, based upon these kids, and then you show them like what it means to have some type of sexual gratification, right? And you do some weird predator ass shit. That's only counterproductive, right? And the reason it's counterproductive from an overall perspective was the first thing you was trying to do was run a daycare. How you go from running a daycare and you trying to take care of kids to being a predator and trying to take advantage of these kids. So it's counterproductive. You're not putting yourself in a scenario where you try to create something for yourself based upon the intention of, oh, I'm trying to run a daycare because I like taking care of kids because of this, that, and the third, and that familial type of energy and things of that nature, right? And make you feel comfortable to do, right? And you have some type of talent to give based upon how you grew up and things of that nature of taking care of other people's kids. You know what I'm saying? Like your aunties and your uncles and your nephews and stuff like that. You have a strong affinity of knowing how to take care of your kids, maybe better than them for the most part. You know how to parent them better than them. So for the most part, it's like a counterproductive conversation, right? Because you're literally going against the original intention of why you did it in the first place. So it's like I always say, God is like all possibilities for the most part. So if you're trying to make something possible for yourself, right, you open free flowing to all possibilities. So you're not getting stuck in one shape and form. You're trying to adapt to all shape and forms to where you can create something for yourself. That's not creating something for yourself. Because for one, you get lost in your mind based upon thoughts and feelings because you don't know how to place your sexual desires in other areas and things of that nature, right? And it's another layer to it. You getting caught in the physical version of that too. So anything you self-reflect, you gonna self-project. If you self-projecting, you being in balance with your sexual desires and stuff like that, right? It gets so deep to the point you can't find someone who's your age or someone who's, you know what I'm saying, going through the same type of experiences you went through and things of that nature, and you start going after kids. That's counterproductive from an overall perspective. I get this like a whole sensitive ass topic for the most part, but I'm just saying from an overall perspective, right, of how you can look at something as productive and counterproductive. That's counterproductive. You're not putting yourself in a scenario to where you can keep on acting out something where it's creative and you can keep on producing something else for yourself to put you in more circumstances of making that money and the lucrative monetary gain and have more open opportunities for your babysitting business and stuff like that. You started swaying away from the original intentions, and then your babysitting business is just for you to gratify yourself based upon your sexual desires and things of that nature. So it's something that's self-serving. So it's something based upon an ego. You're not doing something out of kindness of your heart. You're doing something because you have a fucking sexual gratification issue or some shit like that. Like, it's weird as fuck. So from an overall perspective, you have to look at it like this is a toddler state of being. This is a child state of being. This is a pubescent child teenager state of being, right? You're a grown man. That don't make no fucking sense from an overall perspective in reality for the most part. You know what I'm saying? You in a whole different state of being than this person for the most part. This is still a child. This is still a teenager. Why would you want to be with a child, a teenager, and have some type of, and then some of them don't even go through, some of them didn't even go through puberty yet and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So from an overall perspective, it's counterproductive. You're trying to produce something to where you can make something more broad for yourself and have a better direction and vision. You just getting encapsulated in your mind, and it start you being encapsulated into the physical in some way, shape, or form. You get what I'm saying? You need to go be with other adults. You need to go be with another man or woman. You need to go be with, you know what I'm saying? You shouldn't be with no fucking child. You shouldn't be with no fucking teenager. It don't make no fucking sense. So I get a motherfucker could look at that as, oh, so you talking about morality and how it don't matter and things of that nature. So you don't believe in good and bad, right and wrong because of this, that, and the third. I'm saying that reality and that state of being of trying to look at something as right and wrong when we all know it's relative is the problem for the most part. It's based upon the intention behind what you're doing it and is it productive or counterproductive for the most part. You get what I'm saying? So it's the same way how y'all can sit there and be looking at strippers, right? Or someone who is a motherfucking OnlyFans creator and things of that nature, right? And then you gonna sit there and look down on them and feel like you're on a more high ground and things of that nature just because this person be popping their coochie and things of that nature and be shaking their ass, or they in a gay bar and a gay strip club or some Magic Mike shit where they oil themselves up and show off their pecs and things of that nature, right? You look down on them, right? Because they're basically prostituting themselves. They're basically selling themselves because of this, that, and the third for the most part, right? But it's based upon the intention behind why they're doing it for the most part. So it literally turns into a, you need to do as I do, not as I say, not turn it into a do as I say, but not as I do. It's going to be contradictive the minute you start doing as I say, not as I do type of character for the most part, right? Because you can say one thing, but then your action contradict about what the fuck you just said, nigga. So if you do as I do, not as I say, you're not paying attention to the word verbiage out of my mouth. You pay attention to the intention and the action. All you see from an overall perspective, oh, my intentions is in the right place. My motivations is in the right place. My passion is in the right place. My goddamn, like the reasoning behind my method, the reasoning behind why I'm doing this shit for the most part, the action behind why I'm doing it for the most part is in the right place. If you want to look at it like a right and wrong, it's something that's productive for me to do. It's something that's creative for me to do. It's something that make me be in my natural talents and gift for something that from an overall perspective, I'm willing to deal with, right? Because I'm fine dealing with this structure system. I'm fine with these I'm fine doing it in this type of way. I'm fine being motivated doing it in this type of way. I'm willing to take the boundary restriction and limits, or if a motherfucker sit there and be all like, oh, the only reason you making all this money is because you shaking your ass because of this, that, and the third. That's demoralizing. I don't do that shit because of this, that, and the third, right? But it's based upon their intentions. That motherfucker could be only doing that because he's trying to get their 1-2 together. So based upon the society we live in for the most part, right? And let's say we're going through a fucking recession right now. We're going through a recession and things of that nature, right? And motherfuckers getting laid off. So let's say you have like a federal corporation type job for the most part, right? You got laid the fuck off and you struggle. You struggling, you in struggle mode. You probably got 1 or 2 kids and things of that nature, right? And then based upon you not making as much money as you used to, and you having some type of in-house thing when it comes to your husband, things of that nature, right? You end up getting divorced, and you got 1 or 2 kids. You trying to take care of them on some single mother shit. So you trying to get your 1-2 together. So you do have an apartment, but you probably stay in a lower class goddamn environment. Okay, you may stay in the hood or Section 8 housing for the most part. So you may sit there and have the idea, right? And you willing to put your morality, aka what you look at as right and wrong, good and bad, positive or negative, and you try to make a positive out of that. You try to make something that can be relative, that's right for your situation for the most part. So yeah, you got 1 or 2 kids. Yeah, you prostitute yourself. Yeah, you do fucking strip on the side. Yeah, you pop ass and pop coochie and things of that nature. But the intention is, I'm trying to feed my goddamn kids. And I'm trying to get my 1-2 together based upon I got laid the fuck off out of my government job and things of that nature, and I can't do the same shit I used to do and things of that nature, and I'm trying to fucking live, and I'm trying to make my money, I'm trying to get my 1-2 together, and you ain't gonna stop a motherfucker from doing that. So if you sit there, but if you sit there, you start hating, and you start looking at it like, oh, I have some type of moral high ground over this other motherfucker because they had to do this and I had to do that. You just speaking based upon some type of judgment, and you ain't God, nigga. You ain't all possibilities. You know what I'm saying? Not everything is possible through you. You doing something that's self-serving. So, okay, fine. Something may be right for them and relative to them, but it's wrong for you, aka it's negative to you, aka the way you receive it and the way you perceive it for the most part, right? You look at that as, okay, I understand why they did that. I just want to do that. Take it no further than that. I see why they did that. They actually a good person. They actually cool as hell. You know what I'm saying? They actually have good intention. This person is a great mother. You know what I'm saying? This person as a human being, this person well-being is straight. You know what I'm saying? They know what the fuck they doing. They were just willing to sacrifice that thing and you know what I'm saying? Come in honor. You know what I'm saying? Come genuine. Oh, this is what the fuck I do. Hey, I'm a hoe. Hey, I'm a whore. Hey, I'm a prostitute. Hey, yeah, I be fucking hella niggas because of this, that, and the third, right? But this is how I get my 1-2 together, and I'm satisfied and I'm fulfilled doing this thing. And compared to other motherfuckers, right, they might not be into that, but I'm just saying, this is how I live my life. You can't influence another motherfucker how they want to live their life, and you can't influence another motherfucker how they want to think and how they want to feel. Is it a you and they sentiment, right? And you're attracted from being in the same state of being, the same mind state, or you just not. That's it. That's all. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the minute you sit there and you start self-projecting how a motherfucker supposed to go about something because of this, then the third, it start getting to that smothering type of energy. AKA, you know what you want in your space. AKA, you could be around one person, right? And you feel real comfortable around this person. You feel like you could be yourself around this person. You feel like you could be spiritually free around this person compared to someone else. It feel like they always judging you. It feel like they always putting you in bondage and shackles of how you want to express yourself for the most part. You feel like you always walking on eggshells around this motherfucker. You know, based upon your spirit, aka your space, you know what you want in and out your space. So you're not gonna be around this motherfucker because they don't align with the way you look at life for the most part. They don't align with what's relative for you and stuff like that. AKA what you look at as right for you, and you're not self-projecting or making them sit there and be like, hey, if you want to make this money, you got to be an OnlyFans creator. Hey, if you want to make this money, you got to pop this Gucci. Hey, you know what I'm saying? This the hype right now. This the wave because of this, that, and the third. You ain't doing that. You just doing that because you in the sacrifice, right? And based upon the intentions behind why you doing it, you have good intentions behind it. I'm just trying to get this monetary game right now, man. Like, I got these 2 kids. I got to take care of motherfuckers. I got to eat. My kids gotta eat, you know what I'm saying? My stability, my circumstance, my situation, I do what I gotta do. The same way how you can look at a street motherfucker or someone who's in a game because of this, then, the third, right? Based upon this surrounding environment, they probably got jumped into that gang and stuff like that, right? And they just trying to survive. They ain't trying to get beat the fuck up every day and things of that nature, right? So they gotta be a part of a certain community of people just so they can what? Survive for the most part. So they probably always gonna rep that set for the most part, and they can leave and move and put themselves in a better scenario, but it just is what it is. They just trying to survive. They're trying to keep their 1-2 together. They ain't trying to see their mama cry. They ain't trying to see their grandma cry. They ain't trying to get caught up in the streets and get fucking shot because of this, that, and the third, right? I'm bringing up hella examples, right? I'm bringing up hella examples. It's the same way how you can look at a drug dealer who do that same thing, or you look at a mafia and motherfuckers can look at them like, oh, you do drug shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you be selling all this like, you know what I'm saying, these medications and all this shit to substance abusers and things of that nature, right? But based upon the mafia or the drug dealer, for the most part, their intentions is they're just trying to get their 1-2 together. And then if they build some type of organization, right, it's the same way how you can look at a motherfucker doing bad shit, but it's good for the community overall. AKA look at that like some type of Italian mafia in the drug trade and stuff like that, and they make a lot of money off that shit. You can look at them as selling drugs and selling substances as a bad thing because it's not illegal. I mean, it's illegal based upon the laws in that certain geographical location, based upon how that society is set up, but based upon that surrounding environment and in that community, because there's a gang there, because there's a mafia there on that block or on that street in that certain area and stuff like that, the crime isn't as bad because the only way you can get that drug, the only way you can start problems is you have to go through that mafia. And if whoever is the mob boss, whoever is part of that drug trade and things of that nature, who run shit in the streets, in this and the third, whoever run that block for the most part, right? If they so powerful based on the position they in and things of that nature, right? And people, regardless if the motherfucker fear them or they respect them because of this, that, and the third, regardless, right? They ain't gonna play them because they run their whole shit. You can't just come over there doing whatever and things of that nature because they run that whole block. So in a sense, based upon their intentions, right? You can look at them as doing bad shit because they in a gang or they do sell drugs, but their intentions is based upon how they grew up in their environment, right? And from an overall perspective, they're actually helping the community, right? Because they have to go through them, and then anybody else who just do shit disorderly or they do shit chaotically, aka they trying to do something self-serving, aka they trying to take over everything, and they want to kill the mamas, kill the children, kill the whole, you know what I'm saying, kill certain families just recklessly and stuff like that, and got no type of like honor behind what the fuck they doing, aka like you ain't go with these motherfuckers like you like a foreigner or some shit and you try to take over and things of that nature, right? On a higher percentage scale, you're gonna get less grace if you want to put God into this discussion for the most part. So for the most part, right, you just causing a whole bunch of war, a whole bunch of mischief, or a whole bunch of confusion from you being a foreigner for that community, and you just thinking, well, when I was in fucking Europe in the way we run the drug cartel over there, we did it like this, but you just can't come to California, just start spinning that shit thinking, oh yeah, you're gonna be kingpin and shit like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you about to be fucking Penguin from Batman or some shit like that trying to take over the shit. Nah, motherfucker, they run shit a whole different way over here and stuff like that. And then they got the game so sold up and so cold, right? They actually help the community in a sense, right? By either donating to a certain organization and things of that nature, right? Or if you want to do some type of drug trade or you being a certain gang and things of that nature, right? You have to rival against them, and they're more powerful than you are for the most part, right? So you have to look at it like, well, based upon the geographical location in the surrounding environment, this is just how they structure shit, and it's right for them. Everyone is satisfied in a sense, right? Because it's not causing a whole bunch of mischief, right? They kind of look at them, aka those street niggas, like they're just a police because the police is fucking up over there or something like that, right? And they be doing like it's the epitome of like why street niggas wouldn't fuck with cops, because the cops over there may be corrupt and things of that nature, and they ain't really for the people. And then the gangs and the street niggas and the mafia and the cartel and things of that nature, they're more for the people, aka they actually give a fuck about the community that they grew up in compared to the police or something like that, or motherfuckers from the military. They're just trying to get a check. They're just trying to do their job. They ain't doing this for the kindness of their heart and things of that nature, right? And trying to protect people. They're doing it because of like a monetary gain or like a job or something like that. So they trying to do it for a check. They trying to do it for money. So it's based upon a monetary gain, aka money is temporary. You can't take none of that shit when you die, for the most part. So your intentions is gonna be way more based upon that. It's gonna be way more based upon that and things of that nature for the most part. So based upon all these examples, that's what I'm saying. Morality does not matter. It's just a state of being in a realm of reality of how to look at good and bad, and then it's gonna get into that ethics conversation for the most part, and it's going to get into this religious context and conversation. And religion is just a real legion, aka it's just a group of people who keep on remixing their legion. They keep on repurposing their legion, aka it's based upon their culture. It's based upon a mind frame or like a belief or some type of practices that they uphold, right? But it's just about those type of people who think that certain way, right? And they start self-projecting, aka like a fucking Jesuit or some Mormon or a Jehovah's Witness, and them going door to door trying to force people to think how they think for the most part. They can't just go into their own pocket and stuff like that. Even if you look at it as a motherfucker who's like a murderer and stuff like that, right? If you're gonna be sitting there having murderous ass thoughts and things like that, you better self-project that shit. You better keep that shit to yourself. You better find something to, you know what I'm saying, make you not act out that shit for the most part. You know what I'm saying? If you start you know what I'm saying? You start going on a fucking murder spree and things of that nature, right? You just going to hell. You getting stuck in one pocket. You getting stuck in a shape and form. And then let's say, right, you end up murdering a motherfucker, and like the way the law will look at you, right? They gonna get you for manslaughter. It's gonna be based upon their intentions. Someone could have broken into your house for the most part. Someone could have broken into your house, and you defended yourself, and you shot the motherfucker, and they happened to die. But your intentions was, I was defending myself because this motherfucker broke into my house and he tried to steal some shit from me. You get what I'm saying? So you're gonna get more grace because you have good intentions. You're trying to protect you and yours and your family, and the motherfucker broke into your house. So if the motherfucker just happened to get popped, and the motherfucker happened to die, and the motherfucker happened to bleed out in the kitchen floor and things of that nature, right? My intentions was, this motherfucker trying to steal some shit from me. You know what I'm saying? Like, this motherfucker tried to kill me. This motherfucker tried to take some shit from me, and I ain't let him get away with it because I did stand the third. So for the most part, from an overall perspective, right? This is why morality does not matter, and it's just a reality, realm of reality of how you can look at a virtual principle of vices and virtues, of good and bad and right and wrong, and positive and negative. And something could be positive for you and negative for someone else, because it's all relative. Something could be positive for you but negative for somebody else. It could be right for you but wrong for someone else to do. It could be wrong for something else but right for you to do for the most part. It's that dichotomy between that yin and yang. It's about a discernment, and you not getting too caught up in a certain thought and idea, and you can look at it from an equilibrium space, and you can see, based upon your natural state of being and what you resonate with, right, out of your own volition, is this something I'm willing to deal with for the most part? Is this something I'm willing to put my attentions towards and pay attention to so I can get to point A, to B, to C, to get some type of idea, problem, solution, conclusion in some way, shape, or form for the most part. And then it's gonna be relative. So it don't matter how a motherfucker look at that shit. My intentions was, hey, I felt like I was helping someone. If it ended up hurting people in the process, right, I learned my lesson, and hey, I took accountability. My bad. I feel like I was helping motherfuckers, but if I'm not helping motherfuckers, I'm gonna keep this in my own pocket. And then whoever else look at my example of how I did that thing and they want to be a part of it, I mean, come on in. But if you don't resonate with that shit, hey, by all means, you don't gotta do the same shit I'm doing. I'm not trying to be no role model, things of that nature. The more you come in that type of energy, for the most part, right, you're gonna look like You know what I'm saying? You're gonna look like a righteous motherfucker for the most part, or you're gonna look like someone who has good intentions and you ain't doing something from and a manipulative alternative motives instead of being you doing something of doing acts of service and you able to come genuine and vulnerable and you saying who the fuck you is for the most part and you ain't trying to have some alternative motive to get over on a motherfucker. And yeah,